This is Hunter Bledsoe with Baseball Think Tank. This week's video series, we're talking about knowing your zone and approach. If I ask most of you all the question, where do you like the ball most? I think some of you all can give me a pretty descriptive answer. I like the ball in the middle of the plate, I like it down in the middle, I like it up in the middle, or I like it in or out. And so, but my guess is most of you all don't practice regularly honing what your zone is. And knowing your zone is the first part of the approach. Obviously, from there, we'll dictate of saying, what is the pitcher trying to do to us, and should we look in the area that we're going to see the ball, or all of those things. But the first part of the approach is at least knowing where you like the ball and where you handle it. And so we're going to do a drill starting out today and expand upon that of a way that you can consistently practice that, because I think a lot of us practice mechanics. I think very few of us practice seeing the ball or approach or how do I do those things. So we're going to have balls flipped to me, and the first part of this drill is how it's set up. There are 7 balls that fit across the plate. We'll look at that as 7 lanes that the ball can come across the plate, and the number 1 being the ball closest to me, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 being the ball farthest away from me. And all I'm going to be doing at the start of this drill is tracking the ball and saying which number, which lane the ball is crossing the plate. All right, and then we'll show how to take it from there and work on knowing your zone. Okay? 1, 6, 5. All right, now, if I go back and replay the video, I may be off a little bit. All right, and that's where the coach that you're working with or the person that you're working with can give you feedback. All right, and we'll do that this round where I'll say a number, all right, and the coach, instructor, friend, whoever will then say yes, or they'll say, you said 5, it was actually 6. So we'll start to get a better understanding of what those lanes are and honing where, all right, that zone actually is that the ball's crossing the plate. 4, 1. And that one may have been in of 1. That may have actually been a ball, and that's also a good thing to know as well. You know, we're looking at the strike zone as the 7 balls. There are also lanes that are outside of the zone, and I can go from there and maybe just say didn't cross any of the balls, that was a ball in. All right? And so we start to understand what balls and strikes are in this drill. 5, 4, that's 1, 6. All right? So when you're starting to go through this drill, it's very important that you really understand what the lanes and the zones are that you're trying to look at. It's important that you understand what you're seeing. If I'm constantly with someone and I'm flipping the ball and I'm constantly off 2 numbers from what I think I'm seeing, then I need to address why that is. Do I just not quite understand? I should be working harder at what do I actually see, because I need to know those 7 lanes, because everything that we do from a knowing your zone or an approach standpoint is going to be based off of that. So that's what we'll go to next, is we can do this as fine-tuned as we want or as expansive as we want. So my belief is that you can never control more than 3 or 4 balls at a time in an area of the plate. Now, some people may or may not agree with that, but as we talked about in the written article this week, if we did my zone, all right, and we took 7 balls across the plate, and so we had 7 lanes, and then we did a 3-dimensional image of that, it was almost 300 places, right, that balls could be in my zone, right? 300 different places that the ball could cross the plate. And so I don't think that anyone can hit that many pitches all at one time, especially if they're throwing fastball, curveball, changeup, slider, cutter, sinker, whatever it is. So if we look at that and say I can only control 3 to 4 balls across the plate, now we can take, after we learn what the lanes are, and we start to say, okay, this is my zone. So I'm going to say my zone is middle in. All right, when I was a hitter, I really liked to get the ball middle in. And so what I would do, I didn't necessarily like the ball right on my hands. All right, and I certainly didn't like the ball, away that much. So we'll take those 2 away, and we'll take this one away, and now I've got a zone set up that's middle in, right? All right, so, and how we're going to do this is now I would start to say balls 1 to 4, and we would flip again, all right? We would flip again, and I would say 1 or I would say 4. And then these I would say ball. As soon as I would recognize it, it would be out of my zone. And now it's not a ball, or I can say not in my zone, however I want to phrase that. But so I like to do this. So if these are the 4 balls that are in my zone, I like to take them away, all except one of them. And now I need to start to say, okay, I'm hitting that one lane. And I'm going to actually swing now. All right, I'm gonna get there, and I'm not gonna swing the video because I don't want to hit the camera with the ball. But now I can start to see the baseball coming across lanes, and the only lane I'm looking at is that one baseball. All right, and then I would add another one in to my zone. Now I can control those 2 baseballs, and then it would be a 3rd, and then ultimately a 4th. All right, and now I would do that in flips, and I would start to get comfortable at a slower speed, understanding, okay, looking, and then I can break it down even further and say I'm going to look for the ball down in that zone, I'm going to look for the ball up. I can make this as finite as I want in my work. And then I would progress from there to trying to do it when somebody's throwing live, BP to me instead of flips. And then I would go to trying to do that when I'm, say you've seen some of the technology now, Pro Batter, maybe you have one of those in your area, where I can face a pitcher on a screen, and now I really can get a good perspective of am I knowing my zone, am I honing my zone. And so that's the video series of the week. The ideas behind what we're trying to do is to control a certain area of the plate and do a very good job of not chasing pitches that aren't in my zone.